Yeah, hi. Nick Struan here. Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you very quickly about the have and have not, so to speak, right? Now, one of the things I always hear when people say, they say, like, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, and oh, I have no money, I have this, and I have that, and whatever, and oh, I'm poor, and whatever. I just want to remind you, how you actually learn stuff, right? Remember, I'm an English teacher, and I teach Chinese students in China, of course, mostly. And this the thing is that we are learning by repetition. The reason I mention the Chinese students is because their whole system is based on repetition. I mean, they recite 30 pages of Chinese literature, and they remember it all. And if you ever want to see, this type of learning, well, go to China for a start, but also you'll be absolutely amazed the amount of knowledge can be crammed into a little head, right? But this is how we learn. We learn by repetition. When you're little, you heard mommy said a thousand times, and eventually you started saying it, yeah? You started saying mom, 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 and eventually you got it right, and it became mommy, and then dad, 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 if that was lucky, right? And this is how we learn. We learn by doing things again and again, or we learn by hearing things again and again and again. So, inadvertently, if you're running around saying, "Hey, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, I'm not good, I'm poor, I'm whatever," hey, this becomes your reality. Your mind and your subconscious picks up on this stuff, and actually, you start to believe it. There's a funny thing about the subconscious; it actually doesn't know what's reality or not. Your conscious mind does, but not your subconscious. And remember, the subconscious mind is like an iceberg. It's really really big underneath, right? So you need to perhaps just think about that for a minute, right? And if you notice that people who say these things to themselves and also to you, they generally are what they say. If they say, "Oh, look, I'm so poor," they generally are poor. If they say, "Oh, look, I have no skills, I'm not creative, I can't do anything," well, generally they are. So, you have to really respect that. And if you still haven't caught up on the latest news that we become what we think about and believe most of the time, right? Then grab yourself on a quiet weekend and start looking at the 300 different videos on YouTube about that, right? Because you really need to understand that you are making your own reality. I mean, I could sugarcoat this and say you should be, like sitting down humming sweet words and think about your past and deal with your past and all this sort of stuff. But hey, look, in my experience, that only creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of sleepless nights, right? So, if you got a limp, then learn to walk with a limp, right? So let's just move on and forward. At one time in my life, I did go down, the dark patch, if or path, I should say. And I can assure you, there is no light at the end of the tunnel down there. And if there is, then it's an oncoming train, right? Do not go down that way, but always seek to and strive to go forward, to become more than you are now. It can be little things. It can just be like if you are good at one thing, then be a little bit better at it next time. It doesn't have to be much. But eventually, what will happen is that you can make a collection of all these little improvements, and the whole of those will actually start feeling pretty cool about yourself, right? And look, another thing. Let me just mention that if you think you are so hard done by, and sometimes we do, I've been there too, so I know how you feel, and I felt exactly the same way. But what I found that if you feel down and you feel like you're not being appreciated and you have no worth and all this sort of stuff, then uh, go into a hospital and talk to people in there that can't move because they're sick, right? Sit down with them and say, well, how are you feeling today, right? And I'm sure by the time you come out of there, then you are feeling a hell of a lot better about yourself and your life, right? Because only when we look at other people's despair, right, then we will really understand what it is to live, right? So let's get back to have and have nots, right? So how do we get to have? Well, we first start to realize what we actually do have, and you have a lot of stuff. Really, if you sit down and make a list over all the stuff that you actually have and you should be very appreciative of, like great health, like, two arms and two legs and all these bits and pieces are there. And you have you may not look like the film star, but you certainly look like, someone who's worth loving and someone is worth, being here, because that's what you're here for. You're here for two reasons. You're here to learn, and then you're here to give in way of perhaps teaching, right? That's everybody's purpose on life. I get many people saying, well, what's my purpose here? Why am I here, right? Well, you are here to learn and then to help others, right? By teaching them or by giving from yourself. Then the next thing they tell me is, oh, well, I got nothing. I'm poor, I have nothing there, I can't give anything, And if you're rich, they would say, oh, well, I can't just run around and give willy-nilly to everybody and to do everything. No, I mean, that's not the point here. The point here is give what you can afford, to do. If you haven't got much, then give up what you do have much of, and you have much of personality and speech and, talk to people, help people, go and help them in some small way, and you will feel a hell of a lot better for having done that, right? Sometimes it's not all about money. You look at other people and go, oh, these people are crazy, because it's all about money and everything. No, it's not all about money. It's about health, wealth, and lifestyle. Because you come here to have a good time. You didn't come here to be working like an idiot for 40 years or 50 years and then fall over, die, right? What would it be? What's the point then? Okay? So we are here to have a good time. We're here to make a difference to not only yourself, to be the best that you can be, but also to help other people with what you have learned and the knowledge you have gained, right? So think about this in the future that, if you see yourself as healthy and wealthy and you're grateful about your life, then that is what your reality becomes. Maybe not straight away, but it certainly will move forward that way. Things will come into your reality that's going to make it even better than what it was, because you are actually living in that reality. But if you choose to feel bad about everything and talk bad about everything and criticize everybody and all this sort of stuff, you will live in a world of hell. And that's why they're talking about heaven and hell. Heaven and hell is not somewhere up in the clouds there, where the good guys are playing harp and smoking big cigars with the angel, and the rest is down there burning the damn fires down below. It's got nothing to do with that. You are in heaven or hell right now, right? And all depending on how you see it is how it actually works out for you. That reminded about a little story about a little boy. He was captured. He was kidnapped. He was taken away from his parents, and the kidnappers threw him in a stable, in an old stable. There was nothing but hay on the floor, and the little boy was sort of like sitting there. Then when they looked in later on, expecting him to sit and cry, they saw he was running around like crazy, lifting up all the hay there and looking, everywhere. And they thought, this boy has totally flipped it. So they went in and they said, what's the matter with you, boy? What are you doing? And the boy looked at him with a great smile and he said, look, with that much hay here, there's going to be a pony in here somewhere. It's all a perspective, isn't it? It's all about how you look at life. So I urge you to be courageous and to look at life, like it's supposed to be. Life is not a struggle. It's supposed to be a happy life. Just take each day as it comes. Try to be happy. Try to be wealthy and try to see yourself as enjoying yourself, right? That's what life is all about, okay? So I urge you to do that, and I know you can do it. So, Nick out. See you soon. Go do.